The letter felt heavy in Anna's hands. The University of Munich's logo stood proudly in the letterhead as her eyes kept scanning the lines. A full scholarship. She could hardly believe it. 3 years of hard work alongside school, countless weekends waitressing at the cafe, it had all finally paid off. Anna sat on her bed, the room around her neatly organized, a stark contrast to her older sister Marie's chaotic room next door. Through the thin walls, she could hear her sister on the phone, loud and carefree as always. Anna smiled slightly. Marie had never worried about consequences. That had always been Anna's role. With trembling fingers, she reached for her phone, opened the banking app, and looked contentedly at her savings account. She had saved 15,000 euros over the past few years, her emergency cushion for university, even though she now had the scholarship. The money was in her mother's account since Anna had been underage when she started working. But that wasn't a problem. Her parents had always raised her to be responsible. At least Anna wanted to announce the good news at dinner. Her mother had made lasagna, Anna's favorite dish, as if she had known. But before Anna could show the letter, her father cleared his throat meaningfully. "Anna, sweetie, we need to talk to you," her mother began, nervously fidgeting with her napkin. "It's about your savings." Anna felt her stomach tighten. What about them? Well, her father leaned forward. "Since you've received this wonderful scholarship." Anna flinched. How did they know? "We thought the money could be put to better use." "Marie and Thomas need a bigger apartment," her mother quickly added. "You know they can barely live in their current studio apartment." Anna stared at her parents in disbelief. "Wait a minute." Her voice trembled. "You want to give my savings, which I worked for 3 years to build, to Marie? Just because she and her unemployed boyfriend can't find a decent apartment? Thomas is looking very hard for work." Her mother immediately defended Marie's boyfriend. "And your sister has it tough. You, on the other hand, now have your scholarship." "That's not the point!" Anna felt anger rising within her. "That's my money. I worked for it, not Marie." "Anna," her father used that placating tone she hated so much. "In a family, we help each other. Marie needs our support more than you do right now." Anna looked at her untouched plate. The lasagna had gone cold. How many times had she heard this phrase? Marie needs more support. Marie has it harder. Marie, Marie, Marie. "No," Anna said quietly but firmly. "This isn't fair." Her mother sighed dramatically. "Life isn't fair, darling." "But your sister—" "You've already made your decision, haven't you?" Anna interrupted. Her parents' guilty looks were answer enough. "You've already promised the money to Marie." The silence at the table was oppressive. Anna stood up, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. "Thanks for dinner," she said tonelessly and went to her room. There, she collapsed onto her bed, still holding the university letter. What had been a reason for joy moments ago now felt like a cruel joke. Through the wall, she could hear Marie's loud laughter again. Her sister had won once more, without even having to fight. Her sister Marie's past resembled a string of excuses and wasted opportunities. Anna remembered well the day when it all began. She was 13, Marie 16. It had been a gray Thursday afternoon when the call from the high school came. Marie had been caught smoking on school grounds, not for the first time. But this time was different. They had also found marijuana in her bag, which she had been selling to younger students. "This must be a misunderstanding," her mother had insisted on the phone while nervously pacing the kitchen. "My Marie would never do such a thing." During the subsequent meeting with school administration, Anna sat in the adjacent room and heard everything. Marie cried theatrically, proclaimed her innocence, and claimed the marijuana had been planted on her. Her mother defended her vehemently while her father sat silently beside them. "Marie is a sensitive child," her mother argued. "She would never endanger others." The evidence was clear, but her parents refused to see the truth. The consequence was expulsion. But instead of holding Marie accountable, the incident was dismissed in the family as an unfortunate incident. "We'll send her to a private boarding school," her mother proudly announced to the family. "She'll get better support there." Anna remembered the financial sacrifices her parents had to make. The planned vacation was canceled, the car wasn't replaced, and Anna had to give up her piano lessons. all for Marie's better future. At boarding school, Marie's behavior didn't change. She skipped classes, lied to her teachers, and manipulated her classmates. But no matter what happened, her parents always found an excuse. "She just has it tough," was her mother's standard response. "You're different, Anna. You're strong and independent." What was meant as a compliment felt like punishment to Anna. While Marie received understanding for every misconduct, absolute perfection was expected from Anna. Good grades were taken for granted. Impeccable behavior was a basic requirement. The peak came when Marie ran away from boarding school at 17. She was missing for 3 days, and the police were involved. When she was finally found, she had been hiding at a friend's house. There were no consequences. Instead, her parents bought her a new phone to cheer her up. "Don't you see that you're hurting her by doing this?" Anna had dared to ask back then. Her mother's response was a reproachful look. "You're her sister. You should show more empathy." Empathy. Anna snorted at the memory. For years, she had watched her sister manipulate and lie, how she conned her way through life while everyone around her picked up the pieces. Now, years later, nothing had changed. Marie still lived in her own reality where consequences applied to others but not to her. And her parents continued to support this illusion, even with Anna's hard-earned money. Anna stood at her room's window, watching Marie pull up in her old Golf, Thomas in the passenger seat. Her sister wore expensive designer clothes while Anna saved every euro she could. The injustice was so obvious it hurt. Downstairs, she heard Marie bursting into the house with her usual drama, loudly calling for their mother, probably needing money or help or both again. Anna closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She knew the moment had come when she had to make a decision for herself and her future. It was a warm spring evening when Marie first brought Thomas home. Anna was sitting at her desk preparing for her final exams when she heard the engine noise of a tuned car. Through her window, she watched her sister step out of a lowered BMW, followed by a tall man with tattoos on both arms. "This is Thomas." Marie introduced him at dinner, her eyes sparkling with love. "He's a mechanic." What she didn't mention, Thomas had dropped out of his apprenticeship and worked under the table at various garages. Her parents were initially reserved, but Marie knew exactly which buttons to push. "Thomas had it rough in life," she explained with a tear-choked voice. "His parents never cared for him." That was all her mother needed to hear. From that moment on, Thomas was practically adopted. Within a few weeks, he became a permanent part of the family. He came for meals, slept at Marie's, and soon had his own key to the house. Anna watched with growing concern as her parents fell into the same pattern with him as they had with Marie. "I have a business idea," Thomas announced one evening. "My own garage. I just need some startup capital." Anna's father was already nodding enthusiastically while her mother patted Thomas's hand. Then everything happened very quickly. One Thursday evening, Marie came home with a small package. "Thomas proposed!" she squealed, showing off a flashy ring. Anna immediately recognized the cheap quality, but her parents were overjoyed. "We must start planning immediately," her mother decided. "A wedding needs preparation time." Marie had other plans. "We want to get married next month. Very small, just family." The real reason for the rush became clear 2 weeks later when Marie announced she was pregnant. Instead of being concerned about the rush development, her parents were ecstatic. "Now they obviously need a proper apartment," her father explained at breakfast. "They can't raise a child in Thomas's small studio apartment." Anna felt her stomach tighten. She knew where this was heading. Her savings, her emergency fund for university, would go toward an apartment for her irresponsible sister. The small wedding was planned in 2 weeks. Marie wore an excessively pompous dress. Thomas showed up in jeans. During the ceremony, Anna noticed him nervously playing with his phone and constantly checking messages. A week after the wedding, her parents found the perfect apartment for the young couple. 3 rooms, balcony, in a decent neighborhood. The price was high, but doable with Anna's savings as a down payment. "It's for your sister and your future niece or nephew," her mother said when Anna protested. "Family sticks together." On moving day, Anna stood in her room listening to furniture being carried downstairs. Thomas's loud laughter drifted through the open window, followed by Marie's excited chatter about nursery colors. Anna opened her desk drawer and took out the university letter. The scholarship would cover her tuition, but without her savings, things would be tight. Very tight. She folded the letter and made a decision. This would be the last time she would let her family take advantage of her. The day of her move was gray and rainy. Anna stood in her now almost empty room, 2 suitcases and some boxes at her feet. The bare walls stared back at her. Only the light rectangles remained as evidence of where posters once hung. Need help carrying? Her best friend Sarah asked from the doorway. She was the only one who had come to help with the move. Anna's parents were with Marie, who once again urgently needed support. "These are the last ones," Anna replied, pointing to the boxes. As they walked down the stairs, she thought about the conversation from the previous evening. "You could stay living at home," her mother had suggested. "It would save a lot of money." What remained unsaid? Money they could give to Marie instead. "No," Anna had firmly answered. "I need the distance." Her mother had looked hurt, but for the first time in her life, Anna didn't care. The student dormitory was on the outskirts of Munich. The room was small, but it was hers. Sarah helped her set up, and by evening they sat exhausted on the narrow bed. "Do you feel better now?" Sarah asked carefully. Anna nodded slowly. "It feels right. For the first time, I can breathe." The first weeks at university were like a liberation. Anna immersed herself in a world where no one knew her as Marie's little sister. Here, she was just Anna, an ambitious student with good grades. Alongside her studies, she found a job in a small bookstore. The pay was modest, but it was enough to get by. Every euro she saved went into her own account this time. The calls from her parents became less frequent. When they came, they usually revolved around Marie. How difficult her pregnancy was. How expensive everything was. Whether Anna might have some money to spare. "I'm sorry," Anna would say firmly. "I need to look after myself." It became easier the more she said it. In her dormitory, she found new friends. People who respected her boundaries and celebrated her successes. She learned that family isn't defined by blood alone. One Sunday evening, as she sat over her books, her phone rang. "Marie." "Hey, sis." Her voice sounded artificially cheerful. "You could surely watch the little one this weekend. Thomas and I need some time for ourselves." Anna took a deep breath. "No, Marie. I have exams to prepare for." "But family—" "No," Anna interrupted her. "I'm not your emergency plan, not anymore." The silence on the other end was deafening. Then a click. Marie had hung up. Anna put her phone aside and turned back to her books. Through her small room's window, she could see the city lights. She thought about her old room at home, which had probably already been converted into a nursery. But that was okay. She had found her own path, her own strength. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel guilty for thinking about herself. A slight smile crossed her face as she continued studying. The exams wouldn't be easy, but she was ready. She had learned that sometimes the hardest step is the most important one, the step away from toxic relationships, towards a self-determined life. The call came on a Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock. Anna was just getting ready for her early lecture when her phone vibrated. Her mother was sobbing on the other end. "Anna, you need to come home immediately." Her voice trembled. "Marie, she just left the little one here." Anna slowly sat down on her bed. "What do you mean left here?" "We opened the front door this morning and there was Felix with his little suitcase." Her mother broke into tears. There was a letter from Marie. A cold shiver ran down Anna's spine. "Where's Marie?" "We don't know." Her mother sounded hysterical. "Her phone is off. Thomas isn't reachable either." The letter. "Anna, you need to read it." Anna closed her eyes. "What does it say?" A pause. "She writes that she can't handle any of this anymore. Being a mother, the responsibility." Her mother faltered. "She writes that you should take care of Felix. That you're the only one who would do it right." Anna felt her stomach tighten. "Me? But I'm in the middle of my studies. I can't." "Anna, please," her mother interrupted. "We need you now. Felix needs you." Little Felix. He was barely 2 years old. Anna thought about his last visit to her dormitory, how he had curiously observed everything with his big brown eyes. "I'm coming," she finally said. "But not to take over Felix. We need to find a sensible solution." The drive home felt surreal. Chaos greeted her at the front door. Toys were scattered everywhere. Her father was frantically making phone calls in the living room, while her mother tried to comfort a crying Felix. The letter lay on the kitchen table. Anna's hands trembled as she opened it. "Dear family, I can't take this anymore. Life as a mother is suffocating me. I know Felix is better off with you, especially with you, Anna. You were always the sensible one, the responsible one. Please take care of him. Thomas and I need time for ourselves. Maybe we'll come back, maybe not. Marie." Anna lowered the letter. Her sister's words felt like a slap in the face. Typical Marie, even when abandoning her own child, she pushed the responsibility onto others. "What do we do now?" her mother asked with a tear-choked voice. Anna looked at Felix, who had fallen asleep exhausted on the couch. "We need to contact the police," she said firmly, "and inform child services." "Child services?" Her mother turned pale. "But this is a family matter." "No, Mom," Anna shook her head. "This is child neglect." Marie abandoned her son. "We can't just cover this up." Her father came into the room, still holding the phone. "I've called everywhere. Nobody knows where they are. But Thomas withdrew a large sum from his account yesterday." Anna nodded grimly. They planned this. It wasn't a spontaneous decision. The next few hours passed in a blur. The police came, took statements. A child services worker appeared, talked with them all at length. Felix slept through everything, innocent and unaware that his life had just been turned upside down. In the evening, Anna sat alone in her old room, which had indeed already been partially converted into a nursery. She thought about Marie, about their shared childhood, about all the times her sister had run away from responsibility. But this time was different. This time she hadn't just let herself down, but also a helpless child. A week after Marie's disappearance, the truth came to light. The police had searched their apartment and found what Anna had secretly suspected: drug paraphernalia, debt collection notices, and hidden letters from Thomas's dealers. "This can't be," her mother whispered in disbelief as the police officer showed them the photos. "Not our Marie." But the evidence was overwhelming. Neighbors reported nightly arguments, strange visitors, and a crying child. One neighbor confessed tearfully that she had been close to calling child services several times. "Why didn't you notice anything?" Anna asked her parents that evening. They sat in the kitchen while Felix slept upstairs in his new bed, Anna's old room. We thought she had gotten herself together," her father stammered. "With the baby and everything." "No," Anna interrupted harshly. "You didn't want to see it. As always." The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken accusations. Then the phone rang. It was child services. The social worker was straightforward. Felix needed a legal guardian. Either the grandparents would take custody or he would go to a foster family. Anna could. Her mother began hopefully. "No," Anna said firmly. "I won't give up my studies. I'm 21, I'm at the beginning of my life. I can't and won't be a mother now." But Marie's letter. Marie forfeited her right to make decisions for Felix when she abandoned him. Anna's voice was cutting. "I love my nephew, but I won't give up my life to fix Marie's mistakes. Not this time." Her parents looked at her as if they were really seeing her for the first time. Maybe they were. "We'll take care of him," her father finally said. "It's the least we can do." In the following days, everything was arranged. Her parents applied for temporary custody of Felix. Child services agreed, under the condition of regular checks. The day before her return to Munich, Anna stood one last time by Felix's bed. He slept peacefully, his little face relaxed. She gently stroked his cheek. "I'm sorry, little one," she whispered, "but I need to follow my own path. I'll always be there for you, as an aunt, as a friend, as a confidant, but not as a substitute mother." At goodbye, her mother hugged her tightly. "You're right," she said quietly. "We made too many mistakes with Marie. I'm sorry." Anna just nodded. It was the first time her mother had admitted something like this. On the drive back to Munich, Anna thought about the past weeks, about Marie, who was still missing, about Felix, who would now grow up with her parents, about her own decision not to let herself be pushed into the role of savior again. It hadn't been an easy decision, but she knew it was the right one. Sometimes responsibility means saying no, knowing when you need to put yourself first. The bus entered Munich, the city lights glittering in the dusk. Anna smiled slightly. She had found her path, and this time she would see it through to the end,